Hello, everyone, and welcome back to either the My Football Writer YouTube channel or the My Football Writer Spotify account. You are indeed back with us for the 31st instalment of the MFW Podcast. I'm Freddie Humphrey Wakefield, and I am joined not by Will Grant this time around, but I still have Jack Wright and Henry Miller with me this glorious Monday evening that we're recording on. So, Jack and Henry, before we do a deep dive into the last fortnight of Norwich City related news and content, how have the pair of you been and what's been going on in your personal lives?
Yeah, really good, thank you. With me, just been doing a bit of everything, bit of radio production, bit of presenting, like you name it. I've been doing it. So yeah, been very busy, but have also enjoyed some Norwich City performances along the way. I thought the Watford game was quite a mature performance, which I'm sure we'll get into, and then obviously we have the Derby game as well. So yeah, I'm sure we'll dissect all of those in this podcast. But no, I've been great. Thank you, Freddie.
I've been all right. I caught a mouse in my house. I know that's about as exciting as my week has got. I left a mouse trap. So for the first time in my life, I've committed murder. And then you have to figure out what you do with a dead mouse. You can't just put it in the bin. So I had to chuck it into my neighbour's garden. If you are, in fact, my neighbour watching this podcast, which you most definitely are not, I'm really sorry. But apart from being a rodent killer, I've just been really cold. Like, is it not just really horrible and murky and disgusting in February? In fact, I'm freezing cold. I'm going to put on an extra layer.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Preparation on the MFW podcast. That's tell you what, preparation on here, that's something that's never been done before. No, in all seriousness. No, we have.
I'm pretty sure Norwich had that as a third kit.
If anyone who's listening rather than watching and can't see it, it's a big, fluffy, pink hooded dressing gown with a white woolly inside. No, I think I remember Sargent. He scored a scorpion kick in that, didn't he? Vicarage Road in 2021. I think he wore that exact one. I remember him putting the hood up to cover his ginger hair. No, this.
I got this one from Grant Hanley. This was his favourite.
Oh, the big dog, as he's now referred to. Yeah. Oh, that's a classic. Anyone who's not seen that, go skip to the quickfire hot takes of last week. Henry just whipped out the highest pitch voice for a man with a beard that you've ever heard in your life, of Grant Hanley being the proclaimed big dog. But anyway, we'll move on from the big dog and we'll go into just on the Norwich women's team. As Henry, you are our in-house specialist on the Norwich City women's side, and you said to us just before we started that they've had two really good results over the last fortnight or so. So I'll let you take centre stage and inform everyone as to what's going on in that Norwich contingent.
They have. So last week, it's one of those games that you could spin both positively and negatively, because Norwich City did have a 100% record in 2025, and that evaporated last week. So they were held to a 1-1 draw away at Real Bedford, who are yet to lose a game. And, based on how the back end of 2024 went, a lot of people could have seen that as any drop points now could completely screw up our title challenge. But on this Sunday just gone, we had Chatham Town at the Nest, who are the league leaders, and we beat them 2-1. It was a brace from Holly Kennard, and she got the 3 points for the women's side, and we've actually now climbed up to third in the Women's National League Division 1 South East, and we're 2 points off the league leaders Chatham, and just 1 point behind Real Bedford. However, we have played more games than both of those sides. But, it's the old adage, you'd rather have points on the board than games in hand. And I know we're still behind them, but hopefully the more games we play, the more momentum we can build. And one thing is clear and is for certain, that this dream of promotion, the club certainly have not given up on. And the women's side are going to go all out to make sure that they finish top this season, which is something they probably should have done last season.
No, they arguably should have done. They only lost one game and it was on the final day, but just drew so many matches. And that's ultimately what cost them. But 4 points from your last two against top of the league and someone unbeaten, you take that any day of the week. Hopefully they can get that 2-point gap down, go back to the top of the division, and Andy Cook celebrates his first season at the women's team with some silverware. But we'll shift on back to the men's side. We briefly touched upon the Watford result, or Henry did rather, and what a result it was. Only our second away win of 2025. They've both come in Hertfordshire. The first one against Luton. There's just something about it. There's something about Hertfordshire away days with Norwich for some reason this year. But hey-ho, we won the game. So we did something that we've only done 4 times all season. That's quite concerning, actually. We've won 4 away games. 2 of them have been in the year of 2025. So make of that what you will. But Norwich compounded a bit of misery on Tom Cleverley's Watford, and he's a man who was rather bitter. It left a sour taste in Mr. Cleverley's mouth. He got rather upset with Norwich City wearing their black kit, and they were very much performing in, well, black and dark. It sort of links. Black is a dark colour, but I'm trying to make a link and it's not really working. So he was unhappy with Norwich City's dark arts. He was very unhappy with Emiliano Marcondes, claiming that he continuously chucked himself on the floor, and as a result of that, according to Mr. Cleverley, led in a red card for Vakun Bayo. So he was sent off. Watford had 10 men. Norwich won the game 1-0. Josh Sargent scored. I want to say that was his 5th career goal against Watford, who he hasn't scored against any other opposition more times than that over his career. So he loves a goal against the Hornets, and he stung the Hornets, if you'll pardon the pun. Norwich got the 1-0 win, but apart from the dark arts and a lovely little moment of celebration from Torup at the end, the performance as a whole, rather inspiring, I thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But looking back on that game and that a clean sheet away from home, a win away from home, it's never bad at all, is it? They always say if you can at least draw your away games, you might end up all right. But no, a really professional performance, it must be said.
Yeah, I completely echo that, Freddie. I know when I was watching it, I was taken aback just how mature that performance was, and how determined Norwich City were to get over the line and getting those 3 points. I think it was crucial, because I think it's really ironic, because Watford were probably one of, if not the dirtiest team I've seen all season. They were kicking lumps out of Norwich City players left, right and centre. But no, really, Norwich did really well to come away from there with all 3 points. And like you touched on there, this season, as has been the case in so many seasons following Norwich, it's been our home form that has been our saviour. So to go to a place like Watford that's never easy at Vicarage Road and to come away with all 3 points, massive respect to them and to our defence as well, who I thought were absolutely brilliant on the day. Get into the red card incident now. I think at the time when I was watching it, I probably did think Marcondes had made the most of it. But when you look at that replay, the one where it's literally sort of side on and a gap appears in the penalty area, and you see Bayo push his hand out and connect into the chin of Emiliano Marcondes, I don't see how anyone could argue that isn't a red card. It's the most blatant dismissal you'll ever see. So to have sour grapes with Emmy Marcondes over that, really is clutching at straws. And then obviously we had the other red card debate as well, where Josh Sargent was fouled. He was. Did he make the most of it? Again, yes, he probably did. In terms of an actual foul, there was nothing in it. I think the argument is, though, he was the last man. And by the letter of the law, if you bring down the last man and prevent a clear goal scoring opportunity, then it is a red card. So if the referee followed them, then they could have easily been down to 9 men. But yeah, I think that's like very hypocritical from Tom Cleverley. But just quickly as well, I was talking about the referee there and how he maybe could have sent off another player. I thought on the whole, the referee actually had a really good game. And I think that's probably one of the best refereeing performances involving Norwich City we've seen all season. I thought he was very fair in the decisions he made. So shout out to him. But no, overall, I think, yeah, Tom Cleverley's a very bitter man. And Norwich did really well to get all 3 points. But it's very reminiscent of Liam Rossignol last season.
Oh yeah, he was very salty, wasn't he? Yeah. Well, I think in terms of the performance, it was a magic performance. We were good in spells, and Sargent with a wand of a left or right foot. I can't remember which one it was. I'm trying to make as many magic puns as possible. But we lifted the curse of essentially being really terrible away from home. And I think what really struck me was that it was a result and it was a game where the odds were very much in our favor, and kind of these kind of weird moments don't really happen for Norwich. Like, we tend to concede silly red cards and silly penalties, which we'll get to. We tend to concede, just really weird moments, and they never seem to really benefit us at all. But in this match, obviously, a very, very, very blatant red card, which all the Watford fans thought would be overturned. It wasn't. As Henry pointed out, if you punch someone in the throat, I don't know if it's a punch, it's slowed down. But any contact with your arm to someone's general face. I mean, to say Marcondes could have been killed, it's not an understatement. It is. Well, it's an overstatement. I don't know. Anyway, and I think to play most of the match against 10 men, sometimes it doesn't really work. Sometimes, most of the time we've played against 10 players, they've still managed to find a way to outfox us. But no, I think, again, really good to get an away win, but also really good to get a clean sheet as well. What I will say, how close was Mahovo to getting his first ever senior goal on his second ever senior start? I'm sure we will go on to how good he's been, but you got to feel for it. I mean, but who do you want the ball to fall to? The best striker in the championship, right? Is there a better striker in the championship? Probably not. And yeah, all the fans at Vicarage Road were singing "There's only one team in yellow." Well, that weekend there was two, and they played in Suffolk, and they were Southampton. Again, talking of yellow, I'm not. That was close. That's a warning. But yeah, well, 6 points all season, and then they rock up and win. Anyway, yeah, it was a good weekend to be yellow.
No, it was perfect. But well, you mentioned Mahovo. We'll go straight on to him because he has been a very fine addition to this team. And as we said in the last podcast, our very own Will Grant pretty much predicted it. He did an article all about Lucien Mahovo for the Pink, and about, I believe it was either last month or the month before, about his sensational rise and his importance for the Norwich youth team since the start of the season when he joined from Notts County. But I don't think he ever would have dreamed of being in the first team, and almost in a way currently almost undroppable at left back, which is unbelievable to say for someone who's only played 3 senior matches, to say that you can't drop him. That's quite the impressive start for Mr. Mahovo. But himself and Kellen Fisher, 2 boys who have come up from non-league academies and are bossing it at such young ages in the Championship. Is it perhaps a bit too early to say that we could be seeing the next Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis right back, left back partnership? Could we be seeing 2.0 of that? Or is it just too early for those claims? Because Fisher's only really, this is his first, I'd say, proper season of being a first team player and getting a lot of football in the Championship. And Mahovo's played, not even 300 minutes of first team football, but he's been extremely impressive, it must be said. But are we seeing the next Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis just yet?
I think it sort of depends, really. I think in terms of Kellen Fisher, what I worry about, you've seen it with Norwich before and our use of our Danish army knife in terms of Jakob Sorensen. The fact that he could play everywhere across the park, it seems that they sort of want that for Kellen Fisher. He can play right back, play left back, play in central midfield. I'm worried that he's going to keep on playing in so many positions and eventually he'll get burnt out. Yes, he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's so passionate, and we're so lucky to have a young player like that. But in terms of him being the next Max Aarons or something, it's difficult to say that when he plays in so many positions. But I think with Lucien Mahovo, I'll be honest, I think we're right to get carried away. He's come into this side and has taken to it like a duck to water. He has been absolutely fantastic. And touching on what Jack said there, watching that Watford game, it was one of the only games that I've ever watched and have actually been disappointed that Norwich have scored. And the reason why I say that is because I was so disappointed, whilst being happy at the same time. I was so disappointed that Josh Sargent had the ball in the back of the net and not Lucien Mahovo, because he put in so much work, obviously had that acrobatic flair to him as well, which for him to even, stretch that high and try and get an attempt at goal at, as he's only just broken into the side is impressive in itself. And to almost score from it, you have to credit him. Like it's so unlucky, but his goal will come as well. And in terms of how he's been playing, he's been absolutely brilliant. And, I think we've discussed on here before just how strong our depth actually is at fullback. What I was saying about Callum Fisher, he has played all right. And Jack Stacey, who I'm sure we'll get into, I think on the whole, he's been really good this season. And, you look at our left back scenario with Callum Doyle, Ben Cresceni, and now Lucien Mahovo coming through. We're in good hands when it comes to fullbacks. And what I do find interesting is that it seems now any jeopardy within the central defence for Norwich is such a gain for our fullbacks. And I know that might sound strange, but Callum Doyle seems that he doesn't really have any injury problems. So say, for example, if it's a pairing of Duffy and Cordoba and something happens like it did to Cordoba when he got dropped, that doesn't matter, Norwich, because Doyle can just slide back into centre back, and then it will give the chance to one of Cresceni and Mahovo to shine. And I think on the whole, I know Cresceni started off well and has maybe petered out in the past few weeks or so, but both of them have really taken their chances in this Norwich City team at the minute. So I think with Mahovo, I'm all in on him, to be honest, and cannot wait to see how he develops.
Well, I think in terms of what we think are going to be the next Aarons and Lewis, it doesn't necessarily matter what kind of we think. I think what the testament will be is when these bigger, more rich clubs start to put in little sort of feeler bids for these players, because Norwich is that, essentially feeder club that has a good pedigree of producing young players. We are going to see over the next 12, 18 months, Premier League clubs put in little bids for these players. And that's when you will know, when Premier League scouts are keeping an eye on them, that's when you'll know, we are really hitting the jackpot here. I mean, with Mahovo, big, tall, strong lads, really quick, really good vision in the game. We'll talk about the Derby game especially, but his kind of intricate pass right through the middle to create the chance for the goal. It's just kind of exactly what you want from your fullback. And I think, you've got to feel for Chris Ennie, because he's kind of played a few games at left back, been kind of okay, and we've kind of all thought, go on, Ben, go on, take it up a notch, go to the next level. Whereas Lucian's just come in just like, yeah, all right. And he's just been, top performances every game he's played. Like I've said with Kellen earlier in the season, there's going to become performances where his lack of experience is going to show. I don't want that to happen. I want him to keep on having 9 out of 10 performances. But Mahovo especially, really, really exciting. And exactly like you said, pretty much undroppable. I mean, poor little Kellen seeing this lump of a lad come in. Kellen, he's probably been to the gym. He's probably been, working legs and working arms. Has he got a beard? Has Mahovo?
I think he's got. I don't know. I think he's got that little sort of modern, sort of trimmed up goatee, small thing that a lot of the younger lads have these days.
Kellen, all I'm saying, lad, you got to do a Henry Miller, right? I want you to come back in pre-season looking like Hagrid, or even looking like Dumbledore. If it's tripping you up as you're doing keepy uppies, so be it. I want a beard, boy. I want a beard. You had a beard, that adds, $500,000 to your transfer value. Yeah. Imagine Messi without a beard. I've said this before. Messi without a beard isn't as good as Messi with a beard. But anyway,
I disagree.
I completely disagree. Peak Messi, I don't envision with a beard, to be honest. But also what I think he should do the inverse Rodrigo Palacio, because obviously he has just a strip coming from his head. Why doesn't Kellen Fisher just have one little strip that like he could plait or whatever just coming from his chin?
It's like Chinese monks sometimes do that, don't they? They have that long bit that just sticks out from the bottom of the chin. How do we do this every week? How do we
Rodrigo Palacio? How has that niche, like Argentine striker from like 2011, got into this podcast when we're talking about Kellen Fish?
He follows us on X as well. If
Rodrigo Palacio follows us on X.
No, not Palacio. You know exactly who I meant. And anyway, your comment about Messi, by the way, that is shambolic. Messi without a beard scored 91 goals in a calendar year, which no one has ever done. So I think him without a beard, he was just about okay. I think, did he win 4 Ballon d'Ors in a row, all without a beard?
Grow a beard, Kellen. Grow a beard.
No, anyway. It's rich coming from you anyway. But no, we'll move on regardless. We'll go to the Derby County match that happened over the weekend. Norwich ended up drawing the game. Jack Stacey giving away a late penalty, which was tucked away by Jerry Yates with a minute left of regular time. That was the first point Derby had got in 9 matches. They had just sacked Paul Warne, a Norwich fan. So it seemed as if that was the most inevitable along come Nodge, or Dr. Norwich will see you now. And it occurred. We didn't get all 3 points, which of course is frustrating against a side who have really struggled as of late. But these sort of things can happen. It's the Championship. Anyone can beat anyone on any given day. Bottom of the Championship can beat the top of the Premier League, as we learned in the FA Cup on Sunday. So, these things can happen. But what did you two make of that overall performance, and how do you sum it up just a few days after the game has gone? Because, of course, it's a very frustrating result, and it's even more frustrating in which the manner it occurred. But these things can ultimately happen, and it's just sometimes unfortunately, how it goes in a game of football.
Yeah, I think in terms of the performance, it was a big pile of nothing, to be honest with you. Basically, nothing happened. So at Radio Norfolk, when we do the Canary Call phone in just before, we'll play highlights from the game. So part of my job is to go through the live broadcast and collate some of the highlights. So for context, for the Derby game, I've got one highlight and then the Josh Sargent goal. That's how much happened in that match. So, it was an absolutely dire game. Was a point a fair result? Yes, it probably was, I'd say, based on that. But it's one of those games where I would probably say that a point's a fair result. But if you're leading in stoppage time, you have to win the game. And, we mentioned Stacey there. It was a poor mistake from Stacey to give away that penalty, a very poor mistake. But I think some of the abuse and some of the criticism he's got has been a massive overreaction. Jack Stacey has been one of our most consistent performers this season, whether he's been playing right back or coming off the substitutes bench. You're always going to get a 7 out of 10 at least from Jack Stacey. So a top pro, top professional, top performer. And I definitely do not agree with some of the criticism that Jack Stacey has got. But I do think it's one of those games. I think playoffs is still very much on, and hopefully we can put that result behind us very quickly with a win tomorrow night against Preston.
Well, I almost went to the game. I was really considering getting a ticket. I thought, they haven't got a point in 2025. We're really good at home, smashed 5 or 6 consistently at Carrow Road. Although there was bus replacements between Liverpool Street and Shenfield, which would have meant I would have had to have gone via Cambridge to Carrow Road, which on a freezing cold Saturday, I thought, oh, no, it's fine. I'll just listen to it. But yeah, really, really boring. What I will say is that I would have much rather have played this derby. Well, I would have much rather played Paul Warren's derby, but I would definitely not like to play John Eustace's derby. Like, why are you swapping Blackburn Rovers in the playoff positions for Derby? Like, what on earth? I mean, I get it, former Derby player, I think former Derby captain. But I guess on a side tangent, that kind of opens the door for any of that chasing pack into the playoffs. Depends who Blackburn point. This is how boring the Derby match is that I'm not even talking about it. But yes, I completely agree with Henry in terms of the stick that Jack Stacey has got. Yes, he made a mistake. I mean, it's definitely not the first silly mistake that a Norwich player has made in the box. I mean, I think it was Cordoba against Middlesbrough, conceded a silly foul. I think when it's just late in the match, I just don't think you put your foot that high. I think you just, I mean, it was only Marcus Harness. What was he going to do? Like, score from that angle or create an absolutely brilliant cross? I mean, no offense, Marcus. I know you're not watching this. But just leave it. It probably would have gone out for a goal kick. But yeah, I think we don't concede that silly penalty. And this conversation becomes focused on the brilliant form of Josh Sargent since he's been back, what is that, 4 in 3. We would then be talking about a clean sheet. We'd be talking about restoring a home winning run at Carrow Road, and we would be talking about being one of the front runners to go into the playoffs, which we still kind of technically are. Okay, yes, it was 2 points dropped, but this isn't the last game of the season. It isn't even mid-February yet. I think the overreaction from the fans, I think it's a bit over the top, but it's one of those where if you're on such a barren run like Derby are, they were going to, strike luck somewhere. Okay, it was just a point for them. They celebrated it like they'd, stayed up and survived completely. It might now be the point to spur them on. Like I said, new manager, new impetus. I think it's one that we're quite relieved that it's a quick turnaround onto Tuesday. If this was kind of just before an international break, Henry, the calls you'd have been getting from Canary Call, oh my word. But yeah, like anyone who left the ground a bit disconsolate and a bit grumpy, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it was a perfect day for me. Lots of content, lots of bookmarks. But job's the job, innit?
No, it is, and ultimately Norwich couldn't get the job done in the end. But no, it is always games of football like that can happen. You can be frustrated, you can have boring ones which you perhaps maybe just edge, but all it takes is just one little moment, and that's ultimately what happened with Jack Stacey, and Norwich ended up getting a point and they have to move on. And as you've just said, Jack, it is a quick turnaround playing tomorrow night against Preston North End. That's at Carrow Road again. It is an extremely quick turnaround. We've had to play Preston now in midweek, home and away. That's an interesting one. Any big statos who can tell me when Norwich have played the same team in midweek, home and away in the same season, do let me know. I'd love to hear that as a bit of a quirky statistic to bring up. But no, we'll leave that for now and we'll let those statos get their numbers up and crunch them. But we'll go back a little bit further. We'll go to deadline day, this time last week, which, by the way, deadline day, January window. Why is deadline day in February? Why? Exactly. That is exactly what it is. It's nonsense, as Henry or Jack flash up the tore up picture for those who can't see it. It's ridiculous. But no, I won't let that get me going mental, because if anything, it actually helped Norwich because they made 2 signings on deadline day. They brought in Jacob Wright. No, it's not Jack's brother. They brought him in on loan from Manchester City with an option to buy at the end of it for £5 million. And they also brought in Ruari McConville, a Northern Ireland international from Brighton, a deal worth £1.5 million. With add-ons, it could rise up to £2.5 million. McConville, a centre-half, Wright, a defensive-minded midfielder. So Norwich have finally replaced Oliver Skipp just 4 years after he left. But no, we've got a defensive midfielder in, for the very least, for the rest of the season, but a bit more depth to add, and maybe players who next season, that if Wright is also made a permanent deal, McConville already is, of course, a permanent player, maybe next season it could be their time to shine. Doyle will most likely not be a Norwich player next season. Kenny McLean continues to get older. Yes, he's still very good, but as players get older, retirement does approach. That's just how it works for the majority of them. But with 2 younger players brought in there, keeping with that transfer strategy of, I think we've only signed 1 player above the age of 23, and that's Anis Slimane, who's 24. So they made that deal permanent as well during the January window. So summing up that window as a whole, but more sort of focusing on McConville and Wright, what do you think of those signings? I'm a big fan of them in terms of the depth and sort of looking to the future, what they can add to this team and potentially become first teamers. But what do the 2 of you make of those deadline day signings?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Freddie. In terms of them really enriching the squad depth. I'll be lying if I said to you that I've seen them play this season. Obviously, Rory McConville has only made one professional appearance for Brighton, and that was against Norwich City in the FA Cup. So those of us who were at that game would have been able to see him play, but I wasn't, unfortunately. But I think what it does do, like you said, when Callum Doyle does go back to Manchester City, it will free up another centre-back spot. And, Brighton's academy is such a good academy and do breed really good players. So the fact that he's come through that system, I think it's a really good signing. And also he can learn off his fellow countryman Shane Duffy in that position as well. So it's definitely a good signing. But I think in terms of this season and in terms of the now, Jacob Wright has the potential to really sort of kick on and play minutes in the first team. I know Johannes Ottorup said in his presser today that Emi Marcondes is ruled out for tomorrow's game. Why not chuck in Jacob Wright? Rory McConville sat on the bench and was an unused substitute for the previous game, whereas Jacob Wright wasn't. He did come on and he did get his first minutes in a Norwich City shirt. So there's no reason as to why he couldn't come in for Emiliano Marcondes and play in that midfield three alongside Kenny McLean and Marcelino Nunez. And I think that would be really interesting to see. Obviously, comes from a revered academy himself in the Manchester City academy. But to me, it's bizarre to put an option to buy in that deal if he's not going to get the minutes straight away. So the fact that Norwich have included that option, I feel like shows you that he is going to get minutes and quite a significant amount of minutes from now until the end of the season. But someone else I guess we should touch on is Matej Jurasek. Obviously, we signed him the first couple of weeks of the transfer window, but wasn't able to play until the Derby County game. And again, he made I think he made an appearance off the bench. I can't quite remember. He didn't. No, so he was an unused substitute as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays, and hopefully he can hit the ground running, because I know there have been a lot of good things said about Matej Jurasek, and maybe he could be the right winger we're crying out for. But no, excited for all three of those players. And I think the one, though, that can really grasp this opportunity with both hands is probably Jacob Wright, just because of that injury to Marcondes that has ruled him out. So hopefully Wright can take, well, all three of them can take this opportunity and get minutes from now until the end of the season.
McConville and Wright sounds like a solicitor's or like a funeral care home. Sorry, that's my only astute analysis on that. But no, I know that Wright will perform really well. I know that Wright will do incredibly fantastic things. J Wright, as I should call him. It's written in the stars. He's going to be fantastic. I think the fact that we, as Henry has pointed out, we've picked off two talents, one from Brighton's Academy and Manchester City's Academy, not only two Premier League clubs, but probably in academy terms, some of the strongest. So this is really kind of an astute business, and you can very, very clearly see what the strategy is and what the plan is, and what the overall transfer policy is. And I mean, when you crucially look at the two kind of most aging players in the team, it's central defensive midfield Kenny McLean and it's centre half Shane Duffy. So what do? We signed a central defensive midfield and a centre half. Absolutely perfect. Not to say that they are going to be their exact replacements, but it does make sense that there is an inheritance for those two, especially. You have got to then think, if we're going to populate the team full of these youngsters, again, it's the kind of balance of, well, who's going to be the experienced heads in the team? Is it going to be a now more experienced Sargent and now more experienced Nunez? But again, those players are probably top of literally every club's shopping list in the summer. I'm not looking ahead to the summer and predicting that we will sell them, but as is the Norwich way. But yeah, no, it's exciting. Obviously, I've followed McConville ever since he played that game against us in the FA Cup. I've followed him for approximately 2 weeks. What was he, like 6'4"? Like, bang out for that. He's not really the countryman of Shane Duffy. He kind of is. Like, it's complicated. I'll tell you a history lesson later. But
it's
Move on. Eurosec, yes, Eurosec. Let's not kind of hypothesize too much about what the lineup is going to be against Preston, but could we potentially have like a front three that's Eurosec on the right, Sargent in the center, Signs on the left? Like, I don't want to get people excited, but that really does things for me. It does. Like, does it not do things for you two? Don't lie. It does.
Well, what things are you trying to imply? That's what I'm trying to get to.
I'll be really motivated to bake or do some spring cleaning, or just really happy. Trying to change the subject. Anyway, it'll get me going.
Yeah, no, very good. No, there's something of that's getting me going ahead of Preston. For anyone who's not seen it, just feast your eyes on this.
I say, are you blind or just stupid?
What do you mean?
Perhaps you'd like to see what Lois and the Fat Man have been up to in your absence. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator.
Yes. We are doing a live watch along tomorrow night, 7:45. Set the watches, set your calendars. Me and Jack will be there watching the game live here on the MFW channel. I won't be wearing all this and looking a bit silly. Maybe if we score a couple of goals, I will, and I'll get a bit carried away. But no, for those who missed it, we will be here live on YouTube. You can join us. You can share your thoughts. You can celebrate with us, or you can commiserate with us. But we'll wait and see on that front. But
what I will say quickly is Jack was saying about the front three doing things to him. Smooth Operator does things for me, and obviously I've given you my lovely rendition of Smooth Operator already on this podcast. If we win tomorrow, I expect to hear both of you sing Smooth Operator.
Deal, my friend. Deal. I shake your hand, Mr. Miller. No, I look forward to it. No, I really do. I hope you all watching look forward to it as well. Anyway, I'm going to take off these glasses because it's not bright enough in here, and I'm going to take off my bucket hat because I'm not in the partying mood just yet. But before we leave you all and we say goodbye, here's what we always do. If you're a new listener or watcher and you're unfamiliar with how we do things around here, we do some quick fire hot takes at the end. Jack asks us some questions. We have to give him a quick response, but I believe for the first time, well, actually, no, the second time in MFW podcast history, we're going to have someone else interject. Henry's got 2 along with Jack's 5. So the pair of you, I'll let you take it away and I'll let you fight over who picks first as I put my other hat back on and take my scarf off.
Henry, why don't you go first with your magical...
I'll go first then. So the first one I have just nicked from the scrimmage that we did today. But with Valentine's Day around the corner, what Norwich City player would you take out on a Valentine's Day and why? And where would you go?
Corker of a question. I love that. You know what? I reckon I'd take our new boy, I'd take Mr. Jacob Wright. I think he looks like a lovely lad. I think he's got a lot of great stories to tell. He's a good-looking man as well. So I reckon I'd take him. Where would I take him? Somewhere on Riverside. Might take him to what's it called? Las Iguanas. That looks like a nice place. I think they do like a brunch and unlimited cocktail thing. I think he'd really enjoy that. So no, I think Jacob Wright, and I'll take him to Las Iguanas.
Marcelino Nunez, Great Yarmouth. Can you honestly, like, most of the time, Great Yarmouth isn't the most amazing place on earth. But when you're there with Marcelino and his little smiley face and his little giggles, you're there holding hands on the snails, and life is great. He could put sunshine on the gloomiest day in Great Yarmouth, and then we'd probably go out to one of the many pubs in Yarmouth and forget what happened after that. But yes, maybe not. I think he's got a wife. I've got a wife as well, but anyway, forget her.
So with me, this might be a controversial take, but I'll pick Kenny McLean just because he's got that comfort, he's got that warmth, and he's reliable. So you're not going to get cheated on, and that he's going to protect you no matter what, come thick or thin. So he's someone you could build a future with. So I'd pick Kenny McLean, and I'd take him. I'm not sure if it's still there, but down Riverside, I'd take him to that Estabuelo. All you can eat meat. He'd love it. He would love it. So exactly. So I would pick Kenny McLean for that.
Very nice. No, very good. Man, very nice.
Anyway, what was number two?
So number two, from a event that's coming up to an event that's already happened. So last weekend was the WWE Royal Rumble. I want you to tell me which Norwich City player would win the Royal Rumble.
Right. Basically, Jack, if you don't know what it is, it's 30 people enter a competition, and they all come in at intervals, and you've got to chuck them out of the ring to win, and it's last man standing. So
that sounds delightful.
Yeah, no, it is. It's genuinely, it's really, really good fun. Who would I pick? I would probably. Oh, it's such a shame Ashley Barnes has left, because he's the perfect answer.
Ashley Barnes and Grant Hanley are perfect for this, but
can't pick them. Can't pick them. I will go with. I reckon Callum Doyle. He's a big boy. I reckon he can hold his own, and he's got the strength and endurance.
Does it have to be current, or can it be former? Because I'll just go
current.
Grant Holt.
Current.
Can't do Grant Holt. Okay, current. I'd go Kenny, because I think he'd be dirty. I think he'd he'd get chairs and tables and throw them at people. I think he's a biter. When he's under the cosh, or maybe Borja, because he's like a little Spanish wrestler. I don't know. Kenny, sure.
So with me, I've thought about this. You're basically, you've got the three players who I think would go all the way to the final three, and then you've got your one who's sort of like Rey Mysterio-esque. So quite a little guy, but actually he's such a good tactician. And for me, that's Callum Fisher. I reckon he's basically the Iron Man. So he goes all the way to the end, but he doesn't win it. So he's fourth. And then the other three are Kenny McLean, the man I've already mentioned, along with Borja Sainz and Shane Duffy. Kenny McLean's eliminated next to leave a final two of Borja Sainz, Spitty McSpitface, and Shane Duffy. And I reckon.
He reckons.
Borja Sainz would try and use the dirtiest tactics. He'd get the chairs, everything, but Shane Duffy would read it, and Shane Duffy would chuck him over, and Shane Duffy would win the Norwich City Royal Rumble.
Tell you what, the suspense built up there. Henry's Wi-Fi paused, and I tell you what, I thought that would be a horrific time for him to cut out, but he stayed alive. He just built up suspense. He got the lag switch out, and he just turned it on, and he put it back off to keep us all on the edge of our seats. So there you go. Some lovely questions, Henry. They made me think a lot. No, they're very, very impressive. And you want to know, who do you think would win the Royal Rumble? Who do you want to take on a Valentine's Day? Leave it in our comments section below. But we'll move on to some more ones. It's hand over to Jack. Let's hear your 5 for the week.
If you were to get a job at Norwich City Football Club, what would be your dream role? Like in any capacity, not just like playing position, but literally anything to do with the club.
Club commentator.
Oh, that's easy and boring.
Yeah, for me, club journalist, it'd be really easy. Travel the country with the squad, speak to the players, do interviews. No brainer.
Yeah, fair. I'd quite like to be a player liaison officer. I'd quite like to be the one that
No, Jack, you'd be Captain Canary.
I'm far too miserable to be Captain Canary. You need someone with a bit of enthusiasm and optimism to be Captain Canary. But no, the player liaison officer, the one that basically shows them around Norfolk when they sign, the one that, would have probably taken Mate Jurasek to Cromer and been like, look, that's nice in the summer, boy. I have to come back here in July. Hey, you ever been to Thetford? No? Oh, that's right. Nice, that is. Anyway, it's player liaison officer. What one cuisine is missing from the Carrow Road matchday experience that would improve it exponentially?
See, I would say pizza, but they've just done a deal with the Wood Brick House by Norwich Market, so they're adding pizza. You know what? I'll go with some like Chinese loaded chips or something. Like some sweet and sour sauce on there, few chicken balls maybe, a couple of spring onions, just something a bit diverse.
What I'm going to go for is sort of the same milk to Freddie, but something like a chili. Having nice chili and rice with nachos or whatever, that would be really nice, but you could have it over chips as well. So, yeah, that would be my pick.
Lads, have you been to Norfolk? Chili in Norfolk? That would confuse the heck out of everyone. I don't know. I'm gonna go down Freddie's route, and I'll probably say bao buns. I like bao buns, and they're a nice little contained, again, Chinese-ish. Chinese? I don't know. Oriental. We'll go with Oriental. Next one, question 3. Would you rather move to a new purpose-built stadium whilst Carrow Road is knocked down, or stay at Carrow Road for the next 20 years with no expansion?
It's a very, very difficult question. I think with the way football's going and sort of how everyone is starting to get these new build stadiums and trying to get the more modernised look, I think with the way football's going, eventually every club in the country is destined for that. So based on that, I'll pick with moving to a newer stadium whilst Carrow Road gets knocked down. We've moved stadiums twice before, so older generations have dealt with it, so why can't we?
I would definitely pick to stay at Carrow Road and have no development. And the reason why I've picked that is because you look at teams who have moved recently. So even Arsenal when they left Highbury, West Ham when they left Upton Park, similar with Tottenham as well. These were clubs who their trajectory, even if it didn't pan out that way, they were on the up. Tottenham, they were in the Champions League. They finished second in the Premier League their last season at White Hart Lane. So they had big aspirations and they felt their ground couldn't fit it. Same with Arsenal, and it's the same with West Ham as well. With Norwich, yes, we fill our stadium, and that is something to be proud of. But if we got a new purpose-built 45, 50,000 capacity, it would be unprecedented as to whether we'd actually fill it or not. Whereas an expansion, I feel, would be a no-brainer because it would add, 5,000 on, and Norwich would definitely fill that. If it's a brand new stadium that's, got a significantly increased capacity, there's just not that demand for it if we're still fluctuating between the bottom end of the Premier League and the top end of the Championship. And, you look at Everton this season, Goodison Park is one of the oldest football stadiums still going, and that's why they're leaving Goodison Park. And with Norwich, there would be no need to leave Carrow Road. And if there was and the stadium was falling apart, then I'll be all for it. But it's not. So at this minute in time, until we're, I don't know, winning FA Cups or, winning the Premier League, I don't really see the need to move stadium because, the projection isn't there for Norwich if we're going to be fluctuating between the Championship or the Premier League.
I've been to the London Stadium and I've been to Goodison Park, and I can tell you which one I preferred. I think I've cleverly worded this question like 20 years with no expansion. It sounds really daunting. When was the last time we properly expanded Carrow Road? I think it was the South Stand in 2004. So I think it has been 21 years since. Is that right? 21 years. Anyway, yeah, it's been a while since we've properly expanded it. I couldn't bear seeing Carrow Road knocked down. I couldn't bear it. And where would we build the new one? Like next to the Acle Strait, Stoke Holy Cross? There's no room in Norwich. We're not doing it in Cossey. I ain't commuting to Cossey. Not doing it. No, I'd stay and keep it the same size. But like I said, like Henry said, sorry, I think if we start winning cups and become a Premier League team, then maybe. Or we could just do a Brentford and move to a stadium that's only about 2,000 seats larger in capacity and absolutely soulless. I don't rate the Brentford community or the G-Tech or whatever it's called. Right. Which past Norwich striker would suit Torup's style best?
Another corker. Because you've got to be a complete forward in this system. You have to press from the front. You have to track back, be in the right positions, and ultimately score a lot of goals. And Norwich haven't really had that many sort of players overall over the years. Probably Pukki, in all honesty. I think a prime Teemu Pukki would still thrive in this team. There was many a time where he would sprint back and work hard for his teammates, although I'm just sort of contradicted my earlier point. But he was one of the rare ones who just sort of wanted to do everything, was always in the right position, would link up well with the other forwards. I think maybe it's recency bias as well, but I think Pukki for sure in my eyes.
I agree. It's 100% Teemu Pukki. He could press, he could track back, he could score, left foot, right foot, header. I know he didn't score many headers, but he was just the finished article, the complete package. And to be honest, I think he's probably the best striker I've ever seen play for Norwich. So I'd have to put Teemu Pukki as that choice.
Cameron Jerome. Can you imagine? Nah. Like Cameron Jerome was bagging for like Alex Neil and Neil Adams is Norwich. Like imagine prime Jerome under Torup. Oh, don't discredit Cam Jam. He was a giant in his day.
He was a great striker on his day. He was a great striker. You got to give it to him.
No, I was going to say, when I was there in the nightclubs and they were singing, "Oh, Santi Cazorla," and I was just thinking, "Oh, Cameron Jerome." Everyone looked at me like I was a weirdo, but then again, I was. Cam Jam.
I don't know what to make of that. because I don't know. It's a rogue shout. I'll say that much. I don't really know if I.
That being said, I think he's the most underappreciated striker I can remember. Some of the goals he'd score were absolutely amazing. Again, he could score so many different types of goals. And what he did for this football club, it should not be understated. Cameron Jerome is, a sensational player for Norwich City on his day. So, hugely underrated, I think, by the Norwich fans.
Nice. No, it's fair enough. But there's a lot of different ways you can think of this, of players that maybe it didn't work for in the past, and would it work under Torup? I'm just thinking of a few in my head. Would Ricky Van Wolfswinkel all those years
ago? I was literally thinking the same.
Okay? Would he have ended up all right? Would Kyle Lafferty have ended up all right? Probably not. No. There's a lot of different. There's a lot of different players you can think of. Umbakani, he was pretty good when we had him for the loan season. Would he?
I even think maybe Lewis Grabban as well, because he did all right under Neil Adams and under Alex Neil. I think he could get him behind. He could score goals. So
Gary Hooper. No.
Well, now we're just listing names at this point.
I don't. No, don't disrespect Hoop. No, there can be no disrespect on Hoop. There it is. That season we went up in the playoffs. He was like the Jordan Road. There's another one.
Now we're just listing strikers, right?
Quickfire hot takes, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let us know.
Slow fire, like tepid takes, more like. Final question: which soon-to-be out of contract player would you most like to see given an extension?
Well, the easy answer is Angus Gunn, because, goalkeeper, and Norwich don't have any other goalkeepers that are on his level just yet. But they could be. I'm sure there's academy players who can maybe make the step up. There's Vicente Reyes potentially, but so this is the thing, because you don't really hear much other chat about the players who are out of contracts at the end of the season. Everyone's just focusing on Gunn, so they're taking sort of the big narrative away across other players. But it's Marcondes. It's easily Marcondes. He's only here for a year, and he has been instrumental. He's played so many games, and he has been massive in every game. I do think the next 2 weeks without him, we will see a bit of a lack of creativity, even though we still have Nunez in the side. But no, he has to be, for me. I think Marcondes is essential to this Torup project.
For me, again, I know it's boring, but I agree with Freddie. It is Emiliano Marcondes. I think when it comes to Angus Gunn, I think it'll be a criminal act to lose him for free. But if we did somehow get money for him and he did sign a new deal and then got sold, like we did with Martin Olsen a few years back, where he signs a new deal and then gets sold the next window. If we could find someone who's as good, which I'm sure there are many goalkeepers out there who are as good, if not better than Angus Gunn, then I'd be all for that. Angus Gunn is a good keeper for this level, but he's definitely not, the upper echelons like your James Traffords, and he is definitely replaceable. Whereas I think what Emi Marcondes brings to this team is so invaluable, really, that it has to be him.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to be a hat trick. I was the obvious answer is Marcondes. I mean, he is 29, which again doesn't fit the profile of the players that we're trying to sign, blah blah blah. But even if you just want to keep him for the vibes, he's a good Danish lad. Like, Torup likes him. Again, if he signs a deal and someone puts in an actual tangible bid for him, happy days. Marcondes, I think.
He's a lovely bloke too. I've had the privilege of meeting him twice, interviewed him on one occasion, and such a good bloke. I could not speak highly enough of him.
No, he's all right. He's a good boy, but Anyway, thank you all for watching the latest installment of the MFW podcast. It's been episode 31. It's been great fun. We hope you've enjoyed listening or watching to it as much as we have sat here doing it for you. It's goodbye for now. I've been Freddie Humphrey Wakefield. They have been the excellent Jack Wright and Henry Miller. We'll see you for the next video on the channel or the next podcast on Spotify. See you then, or maybe see you tomorrow night as well.